going to talk about the Tuckett Mansion, or the Scottish Rites building in Hamilton. So we both know this location pretty well. I guess, Ian, have you actually done an investigation in there?
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the ghostly things that happen in there, because I've had some stuff happen to me in that building.
Yeah.
And yeah, and not even there because I was there doing an investigation. I was just there for other reasons, and still had interesting things, make themselves known. So you and Trudy did an investigation there.
Yep.
Right. So what were your results from that? What did you find?
Okay, well, I'm going to take you through as the investigation happened, sort of in chronological order through the various parts of the building.
Okay.
This was done through our friends at the Ghost Walks, that over the last couple of years, they had a ghost walk tour through that building. And when they were researching the information, getting the ghost stories and everything to get the tour walk set up, there was an investigation night that was scheduled. And as I say, Trudy and I were fortunate enough to have been invited as the scientific paranormal investigators, along with a team of psychics for the spiritual side of things. And we had free run of the building, mostly. Certain parts under the supervision of the Freemasons who were there at the time, just to police and monitor that we didn't go where we were told not to go. And so anyways, let's start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in there, there's a portrait of a woman wearing a white dress that's up on the landing of the beautiful main staircase that goes up. There's a landing, and then there's more stairs that go up to the second floor. And it's bizarre because I've been in that building several times. The first time with the investigation, and then I was in a couple of times to actually take the tour myself of the ghost walks. And every single time that I have attempted to photograph that portrait, my camera malfunctions. And I'm not the only person to have said this. I've said this before, and I've gotten responses from people saying, yeah, the same thing has happened to me. I cannot take a picture of this portrait. And yeah, to this day, I have never been able to successfully take a picture, a photograph of this painting that hangs on the wall. And who is this woman? We're not entirely sure. I don't know if you have any information on that. But there's a story that George Tuckett had a lady friend, shall we say, after his wife passed away, and she lived across the street somewhere. And it's rumored, I've heard, that this portrait is of her. I've heard it maybe, Mrs. Tuckett. Nobody seems to know. Have you got any information on that?
Interestingly enough, yeah. I mean, I've been in there enough times, and it is kind of a strange thing because people say they're not really sure who the portrait is of. I heard a couple of different stories. I actually heard that it was Tuckett's daughter. At one point, it was on her graduation. So that portrait was done around the time of her graduation. And that kind of makes sense to me, that, that would be an important part in a young lady's life. So she's about 18 or 19 when she sat for the portrait, and that's a possibility. The other possibility was that, yes, it was this lady friend, although I find that a little odd because there are no paintings of his wife anywhere on the property. that we know of, right?
Right.
So it's sort of a strange thing. I feel like it's more his daughter, right? Because we know
Okay.
we have a story about his daughter with the bedroom and the whole, the painting of the bedroom and that. So he clearly was, went out of his way to spoil his daughter. And it doesn't seem to me that it's out of context, that it's a possibility this portrait is of his daughter. Um, I think because the building hasn't really had a conservator or somebody actually go in there and take the painting down off the wall and take it apart to look for any markings. It could very well be handwritten on the back of the actual painting itself.
Could
But
be. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
after framing and all of that, it's since been covered up. So at this point, I don't have any definitive answers to that. But of course, for me, I feel like the possibility it's his daughter makes sense more than it would of a lady friend, because there aren't any portraits of the wife hanging anywhere. And while it could be the wife, it seems a little odd, because when you look at the clothing, the dress appears to be from about 1895. And I don't imagine that his wife was that young in 1895, right? So I feel that it's more of a young woman portrait in terms of the dress being off shoulder, those kinds of things with the actual
Mm-hmm.
painting, as opposed to a portrait that you would have of your wife painted, right? So it seems to me the daughter plays out more. But I wonder if anybody's ever asked if that painting can be removed from the wall and inspected a little further. I don't know. And I don't know if the Masons, it's property of the Masons at this point,
Right.
that perhaps, maybe I should ask one of my 33-degree Mason friends who, who actually go there, that, if they've got any idea what it is.
Yeah.
If it
Yeah.
would be allowed. So yeah, so that remains a mystery at this point, I suspect.
Okay. So continuing with that, as I say, when we went in, it was to start the whole process of getting the ghost walks through the facility set up.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, there was a visit by Daniel, and he brought in two psychics with him. And I've been told that one of the psychics went up to this portrait of the woman in white and started taunting the energy, which I disagree with. That's, in my opinion, that is not an acceptable form of paranormal investigation.
No.
And I guess this woman got everything so worked up, the energy, that the chandelier that hangs down around that main staircase violently started swinging back and forth. And I've actually seen the video that Daniel took of this chandelier.
Wow.
And it was amazing. So obviously this energy of this woman really got ticked off with the presentation of being harassed and all that. It was something to see.
I haven't seen that video, but I've heard of a few other stories about that. So I've heard a few things about that over the years, just in terms of the chandelier, and also some other happenings like that as well.
So continuing our paranormal investigation tour through the building, once we got up onto the second floor, it was very quiet on the second floor. And what we were allowed to do, under the supervision of the Mason who was there with us, is that we were allowed to go up the next staircase to the third floor, which is normally off limits to anyone other than the Masons. And we were allowed to take a look at the third floor, providing we never stepped off of the staircase onto the actual third floor,
Okay.
and which was fine. But I'll tell you, the feeling of heavy energy up on that floor. You went up there, stood on the staircase, and you could just feel the heaviness in the air. You could feel that you were being watched.
Okay.
It was something. It's, as I've always said, it's, your body is the best paranormal tool you can have. You don't need to go out and spend thousands of dollars on all this equipment. Listen to the feelings of your body when you're in a location and you get goosebumps on your arm and your hair stands up and all that. So
no,
that
I
was pretty
agree.
cool. Now from there, it's it's
Oh,
more
it's
light.
okay. Keep talking. It's just me
Yeah.
playing with the whiteboard.
Okay,
Figuring.
so from there on, we go into the grand ballroom, and you were talking about weddings. Now, this is fun. This is fun because there was a friend of mine, very good friend, one of my best friends, a couple years ago. She got married
Okay.
at the Scottish Rite building. The
Nice.
marriage ceremony and the reception were all held in that ballroom. Now, previously from this investigation, knowing that the building is haunted, Trudy and I brought all of our equipment with us to the wedding. I have to admit, it's the only time that I have ever conducted a paranormal investigation at a wedding, because one, I knew that, my friend, knowing, what we do, and we're such good friends, she wouldn't care.
Right.
And she didn't.
That's
She didn't
funny.
have a care in the world that we were doing this at her wedding.
At her wedding.
And also because it's a haunted building, so we brought all of our equipment with us. And after the dinner had concluded, and everybody was starting the dance and the stuff that goes along with that, we set up all of our equipment on our table as a nerve center, and we started investigating because, hey, I'm not going to pass up another opportunity to investigate this building. And I'll tell you, some of the looks we got from some of the people, it's like what on earth are these people doing? And and I was told that, one of them actually went over to my friend and said, these people have got this stuff set up on all over their table. And she says, oh yeah, they're just paranormal investigators. Just don't worry about it. But I'll tell you again, because of that building, and we spent the entire dance period investigating.
That would have
Yeah,
been
we did. And the first, couple hours, nothing. The last number of hours, nothing.
wow.
There was about 4 minutes in between. Our REM pod started screaming.
Nice.
Yeah, so
hopefully the music was louder than the REM pod.
yeah, so we have no idea what energy set that off. Was it something that maybe somebody brought with them? Is it one of the energies from the building itself? We don't know. All I know is that for that 4 minute period, hell broke loose on our table. It's